Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain. And I think we're going to stick with that name because everyone who's offered an opinion on it so far has offered a positive and complimentary opinion. So,
Yeah.
hey, Molehill Mountain it is. And if we have any budding graphic artists in the audience, feel free to submit ideas for banner art, or even if you want to draw something yourself, hit either of us up on Twitter or something, and because we're going to need to get a new logo for the show and
Yeah.
send that over to Kyle at KNGI so it doesn't keep saying Super Podcast Action Committee Epilogue 5 is what this will be. Because it's going to be weird if for several weeks, Super Podcast Action Committee Epilogue 5 Molehill Mountain 1, just keep incrementing additional orders like that. So,
Yeah.
So Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, everybody.
I'm going to have to make a quick confession. I have not played much video games this week. In fact, the only video games I have played are about 30 minutes of Yakuza 3, like right before we started this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm actually in the post-game part of the game. This game does something interesting in such that it has a new game plus mode in the sense that you take all of the moves that you have learned through gaining experience, and I think your items and money, and you start the game with all that stuff. But none of your completion list is completely cleared out, so you'll have to play all the mini games again, do all the side quests again, things like that. But there's a second new game plus type mode. I think one's called I don't know, new adventure mode, whatever it's called. Essentially, what it is it just dumps you back into the game and allows you to pick up with all of your powers, all of your money, all of your items, all of your completion checklist stuff where it was. It just allows you back into the game world so that you can wander around and pick up everything that you missed the first time around. Right. So you can get the rest of the crap out of the UFO catchers, get high scores at the batting cages, which I'm actually at right now. Your little ward, Haruka, you can escort her around the town, and they walk hand in hand, and it's adorable. And buy her love, because every time you pass a restaurant or attraction, she's like, "Ooh, Uncle Kaz, can we go to the batting cages or buy me ice cream?" And so you go and you buy her stuff, and she likes you more. And the more she likes you, she gives you stuff. So it's kind of an odd mechanic in that you're essentially buying the affection of your young lord, but whatever. And boy, she's her affection is like really expensive, because it's like we go to the sushi joint and I spend 600 yen on her meal, and she's like, "Thanks, Uncle Kaz," and her meter goes doot. I'm like, "Oh, come on." She's like, "Get 1,000 points in the batting cages." I'm like, "All right," and I go in there and I bat 1,000, and she's like, "Yay, Uncle Kaz, you're the awesomest." Doot. I'm like, "Oh, come on. Are you not impressed? Jeez, Haruka, you're hard to please." But also what's interesting is the game organizes it so that you can change the time of day, because some things only happen at night, some things only happen during the day. So you can talk to a character. It's like, Kiryu, you look tired. Would you like to take a rest until nightfall? So you can switch from day to night. And the characters who, like Haruka, who you can escort around town, or another character who actually dies by the end of the game, is just magically alive again, so that if you missed any of that character's side quests, you can redo them. So while there are a couple missable things in this game, once you beat it, you actually can come back to them and pick them up again. And I really like that. There's really nothing more frustrating, because I really would not want to play through the game again from the beginning, just making sure I got everything. I'd much rather go back in and pick up the stuff I missed. So, still a great game. Still enjoying it, and that's really all the all the gaming I've done this week. What about you?
This week, I've been, let's see. I beat, golly, now I can't remember the title of it now. Star Command. I beat Star Command, and it does I guess what you would consider a new game plus, where you get to start the game over with a larger ship. You get to keep all the crew you had on the old ship. You bring them all forward onto the new ship, and you get some tokens and stuff to build out your ship's rooms and everything, and everything's more difficult. Whereas when my first playthrough, you'd have your shield meter that's like, I guess, an inch long on my screen, and you would get hit by an attack and the shield meter would go down like an eighth of that, and then it would quickly boost itself back up. Well, now or attacks from other ships actually do real damage. Like, my shield meter will go down about 75% of the way, and sometimes those hits will actually cause internal fires inside the ship, and then there'll be invasion parties where they'll beam a couple of guys over to attack my crew, and I'd have to not only fight the ship but also defend my crew from the invaders. So it's a lot more difficult. I've made it about 50% of the way, 75% of the way, somewhere in that range.
Same idea
playing
as
it in this mode.
Same idea as Faster Than Light. Or FTL sounds like.
Yeah.
With fighting a ship and having to deal with borders sometimes, and
yeah. So this time through is a lot more difficult, and I'm enjoying it, even though I have sucked horribly at some of these battles, where especially the battles that are just invading forces. Every once in a while there'll be an area where a bunch of like zombies or something will get beamed aboard your ship, and you have to fight them off. And those can get pretty overwhelming this time around. They were fairly simple the first time because they not so many zombies, and so it was easy to position my guys to kill them. But this time around, they can overwhelm my guys pretty quickly, and that gets frustrating. So I've made it through some of these battles with probably 2/3 of my crew surviving, and that's kind of sucks because I'm trying to save up tokens so I can build this last room, but I lost a bunch of my crew members, so I had to use all the tokens I had saved up to recruit more crew members. So we'll see if I can ever get that room built. But yeah, good game. And other than that, I played a little bit of It'll Do, which is a Zelda spoof. I played it before, but I saw that it was available on my Android phone through the Humble Bundle, so I was like,
How is it?
I'll install it and play through it again. It's not bad. It's a good puzzle adventure game where it's very puzzle focused. Whereas like the original Zelda was more action adventure, this one is puzzle adventure, and there is some fighting. Like, you have to actually fight bosses, but each boss is more like solving a puzzle to defeat the boss. Like, the first boss you fight, well, the first boss I fought, you can fight them in any order, I guess, but I had to light these torches to get a bomb to drop, and then I had to position the bomb and light the bomb so that it exploded when the boss was crossing its path, or crossing close enough to it. And so you had to figure out the pattern of the boss and everything so that you could get that done. And so yeah, everything is very puzzle oriented. To get through everything, you got to solve all the puzzles, and you get 3 items that allow you to do it. You get a flaming sword so that you can light torches, light bombs, break ice blocks. You get a portal wand, which you create portal blocks, which are movable blocks, and then you shoot other stuff with the wand to zap them to where those to where that portal block is. And then the last one is an ice wand that you use to freeze things, and you can put out fires, and you can push them around, push enemies around as if they were blocks, that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a good game. They do parody a lot of Zelda tropes and stuff, and the characters are very cheeky and stuff, like the main character, and then they have a guide type character, which I guess is kind of making fun of the little fairy that followed you around in Ocarina of Time. So
isn't that the one that makes fun of the fact that you're collecting like literal hearts for health?
Yeah. The first time you pick up a heart, it cuts to the dialogue where your little companion characters sees you eating a heart, and it's like, where did you get that thing? And off the ground, and it's like 5-second rule, and it's just because it's you get hearts. You kill an enemy and you pick up its heart and eat it. Yeah, so good stuff. Yeah.
Just call me Elizabeth Bathory. So, I know this is a little late, and I don't want to leave anyone in suspense any longer, but I did find my 20-sided die. I did find my D20. I posted about it on Twitter, but I figured I may as well alleviate the concerns of anyone watching or listening to the show that doesn't follow me on Twitter or missed that particular tweet. It was interesting. I was just really tired today. I actually took a nap. I haven't taken a nap in a long, long time. And while I was napping this afternoon, I dreamed I had I think a 22.5 sided die. And this dream went into weird detail on exactly how it was shaped, and had
a 22.5. Is that what you said?
It had 22.5 sided die, and it had panels on it that were smaller than the others to get it was really it wasn't kind of spherical. It was more oblong, but it was weighted in certain ways that it rolled fair. But dreams are weird.
Yeah.
So
that is weird.
So,
yeah, I still haven't found my 20-sided die. Sorry, everybody. I have no idea where it could be. I remember actually, speaking of die, I forget how long ago this was. I think it was on Kickstarter, but it was a game. It was a dice game, but instead of like actual, weighted and fair dice, it was just a series of just weird dice. Like some of them were barrels, some of them were star shaped and whatever, just a whole bunch of different die that you could use. And very interesting the way they described it, because they said that when they were designing the game, they designed it specifically to work with these unfair die. So I can't remember what the game was though. And it's been a long time since I remember since I saw that. But yeah, I just thought something that when you talked about your dream about the 22.5 sided die, that brought that Kickstarter to mind. So
yeah. All right, so we are going to try a segment for the show that's a little different. We're just going to call it Bucket List for now, the Bucket List segment. So Kim Hulbert, who Kim Vaughn. Sorry, she got married, and she got married several years ago. So I really should remember what her name is now. Um, she posted a list of a bunch of things on a bucket list, and it was a Facebook thing. And she's like, "How many of these have you done?" So I thought it would be fun to look at this list, and each week we'll go through 5 things on the bucket list and see if we've done them, if it brings up any interesting stories, or if it's anything we'd ever really even want to do. So, Zachary, first thing on the bucket list. Have you
All
ever
right.
fired a gun?
Yeah, multiple times. I was in Boy Scouts, and shooting guns was one of the things that Boy Scouts do. There's the rifle merit badge, shotgun merit badge. I believe there's a black powder merit badge where you shoot actual muzzle loaders, and I think those are the 3 shooting ones. And then there's archery, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've done that. I've done, and the rifles they used at scout camp were 22 single shot bolt action rifles.
Mm-hmm.
They had some long barreled ones, but most of them were short barreled ones. But I've also shot shotguns. 12 gauge. I don't think I've done anything bigger than a 12 gauge. And skeet. Actually, I did that at Boy Scout camp, and it was we did skeet shooting, which was fun. I like skeet shooting. With shotguns, I don't know who would do target shooting with a shotgun. You either
bam, I got it, the whole thing.
Because it's like you shoot the skeet or you shoot animals. It's like what it's kind of pointless to do anything else. But I've also shot a black powder muzzle loaders, which is those are really cool. If you get one that's well built, you can shoot for quite a ways. Like back in Scout, I was the best shot with that. Myself and a friend, we did a contest, and I kicked his butt. And I've shot handguns. I actually shot a handgun that shot shotgun shells, like 12 gauge shells, which was really cool. I don't own a gun. I would like to get a gun. I have other things that I need to spend money on first before I go out and buy a gun and ammo. But yeah, I would like to own a gun. Because I like shooting.
We're gonna have to eat light for the next month because Daddy wants a gun.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, have you shot a gun?
I have. Sounds like I exactly the same experience that you do. Scouts. I too have shot a single action bolt lever rifle, black powder rifle. Which, for those of you who don't know, that's the one where you literally turn the gun up on its end, pour powder down the barrel, and then wrap a steel ball in a piece of cloth or something and jam that thing down with a stick. And it makes a hole like that big in the target. Also, I've done archery, of course, but I've also used a shotgun in skeet shooting once. And the thing that always struck me, I've never shot a handgun. Someone who was it? Jet Dan 21 is asking if we've ever ever wanted to shoot a flintlock. That would be interesting. Yeah, I've actually never been to a gun range, so I don't even know if that's like an option anywhere, or if they'd even let you, if you had your own, if they'd even let you. It's like, no, because if you blow your hand off, we don't want to be. But I actually have, or had at one point, a toy flintlock gun where it's just kind of a model of a flintlock gun. It has the hammer in the back. You pull the trigger and the hammer just goes click. That's the only thing it does. It doesn't fire caps or anything. It's just a toy.
Well, you can get some like that you can actually put caps in, but
sure. But I remember that when I was 11, I saw Terminator 2, and Schwarzenegger, the T-800, had that that gun that he'd cock by flipping it around. So
Uh-huh.
I'd always have my flintlock gun, and I'd pretend it was that thing, and I'd just flip it around like that, which did not cock it at all. It was just the motion of
Yeah.
flipping it around that was fun. I
Yeah.
also found that I'm naturally a very good marksman. I don't know how well I do with handguns, but with rifles and stuff, for instance, I was 5 for 5 on the skeet shooting. And I
That's good.
pull. I'm like do 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 do, bam. I'm like, huh, and 5 for 5.
Yeah.
I suck at archery though. I am terrible at archery. I'm like, can't
Yeah.
hit the target, can't hit the bale of hay the target is on. I'm so bad at archery.
Yeah.
Of course, I
Archery
was
is a lot
really
more
small when I
difficult.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, I was
Archery is
really
a lot
small.
more
So.
difficult because you gotta actually pull it back right. Because if you
Mhm.
don't if you don't pull it back right, your aim is going to be terrible. And yeah, I suck at archery too. I was actually pretty good at shooting though back when I was a kid.
Mhm.
But then when I became an adult, I realized that I'm left eye dominant. And
Hmm.
so when I actually switched shoulders, I actually became better at shooting, which is really
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, so I shoot left-handed, even though I'm right-handed. But yeah, and I think part of the problem is I have a fairly severe astigmatism in my
Mhm.
right eye, and so that's probably what throws off my aim on that side. But
And,
yeah,
and before any of you start saying that I'm a good shot because of video games, my experience firing guns when I was young well predates Doom in '93. So
yeah.
we're
Well,
talking we're
I
talking
played
late
Duck
'80s,
Hunt.
early '90s.
So, I played Duck Hunt. Maybe that's what helped.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Real quick before we move to the next one, Matthew says he's playing XCOM 2 and that he might make using the character creator rookies out of you and I. Of
Mm.
course, XCOM being XCOM, we'd probably die the first mission. But Matthew, if you
Yeah.
do that, video,
Yeah.
film that. I want to see how poorly Rookie Andrew and Rookie Zachary do in XCOM 2.
So, but before we move on to the next topic, though, have you ever shot a potato gun?
No, but I did make a blowgun out of like PVC pipe.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I basically it shot nails. What I did was I took
Wow.
candy wrapper, or more specifically, like lollipop wrappers, and built
Uh-huh.
it into a cone and fastened it to the end of a nail. So you had a nail so you had the nail with the cone shape coming out the end, stuffed it into one end of the PVC pipe, and it just bam right into my wood
Wow.
fence in the backyard. And it was so powerful. I was like, I should probably never use this. Someone's gonna get hurt.
Yeah. See,
So,
I when I lived with some friends, and one of them had built a potato gun, and it was I forget. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, it was big, like 3-inch PVC pipe, maybe 4-inch, as the barrel, and then he had made a chamber at the base of it where it had a little piece of tape or something over a hole, and you spray in something like deodorant or hairspray or something like that, or WD-40, and then you close it up, and then he used
okay.
a lighter, one of the long kitchen lighters, but he took it out, just used the spark mechanism as the ignition source, and we had some fun with that. We actually shot a potato a good 200 yards. And
Wow.
it was crazy. We stuck an Easter bunny, like one of the chocolate Easter bunnies, solid a solid one
Where did
pound
you get a
Easter bunny.
solid chocolate Easter bunny? They're always hollow, and it pisses me
Yeah.
off.
But
There's nothing more
we got
disappointing than biting into the ears of a chocolate bunny and it being hollow, and you're like,
yeah.
oh,
But we had a solid
lame.
1 pound chocolate Easter bunny, and we put that up on a fence post, and we obliterated the thing with a potato. It was great.
Right.
So all kinds of fun guns out there that you can play
Yeah,
with that.
Jordan.
So, and Yeah,
Right.
and I did a makeshift gun where I took a little 1/2-inch aluminum pipe, stuck a rock in there, and then stuck a black cat firecracker in the end and lit it and shot that off. So,
Well, I had a rubber band gun too, which was
yeah.
a long piece of plastic shaped like a gun that you wrap the rubber band around one end and kind of wrap the other end of the rubber band around the hammer. And when you pulled the trigger, the hammer would rotate forward and the band would slip off and go firing that way.
Yeah.
That was fun. Jet Dan asks if we've seen the Home Alone kid, Macaulay Culkin, in The Good Son. With his custom nail gun. I remember the movie. I don't
I've
remember
never
the
seen
nail
it.
gun in it.
I never saw the movie, so yeah.
It's okay. All right, next thing on the bucket list, and these next two are going to be real quick because they're obvious. So bucket list. Been married?
Yep. I'm on my first wife, so
so you're on number one. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm unmarried. Surprise.
Yeah.
This one's probably pretty obvious. Fell in love. I hope.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I like to convince myself that I am. No.
So
yes, I love my wife very much.
So is your better half your first love?
I guess.
Is she standing
I've never
right
married
off
anybody else? She's right there, so I have to say it. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me, nope, never fell in love.
Yeah.
There are people I do love, mostly
Yeah.
family, few very close friends. But what's interesting about love is there is a difference between loving somebody and being in love with somebody.
That's true. Yeah.
And I had to have my mom and sister explain that to me when I was younger because I just thought that was two ways of saying exactly the same thing. I didn't realize that there is an absolute definite difference between the two. So thanks for Mom and Kelly to actually, Kelly's my sister, explaining that distinction to me because I didn't get it. All right. Next thing on the bucket list. Ever swam in an ocean?
No, I haven't actually.
Have you ever been to either coast?
No, I have been. I've been to the coast of England, but I was serving a mission for my church at the time, and we were not allowed to go swimming. That was one of our rules, and so I didn't get to go swimming in technically it would be a sea where the coast where I was, but yeah, but no, I've never swam in the ocean. It's something I'd like to do, but just haven't had the chance to do it. My wife is over there. Yeah, I have.
Well, I have, as you can imagine, because I live right next to the Pacific Ocean. I'm in Southern California. I lived in Pacific Beach, which is exactly what it sounds like. For 10 years. I live in Linda Vista now, but yes, I have swam in the ocean, and it sucks because it's full of salt and sand and kelp and seaweed and stuff that gets in your shorts, and there's big and toothy jellyfish monsters that can eat you. Yeah, the ocean. Yeah. And maybe it's Southern California beaches, but they're ugly as hell. The sand. Yeah. You think of a beach, and you're probably thinking of tropical paradise with blue-green water and shining white sand. No, the sand here is kind of grayish brown, and there's huge clumps of brown seaweed everywhere, and the water's this dingy gray brown because of all the sand and crap that's brought up from the surf. Yeah, Southern California beaches are kind of ugly as hell, but yes, I have swam in the ocean before.
But so, I've swam in ponds, lakes, rivers, creeks, basically pretty much every freshwater water thing there is. I've swam in one of them. So except for like the Great Lakes, I haven't been anything that big. But lakes, yes, I've been in lakes. But
Yeah, I don't swim much, and I don't like swimming. And it's mostly because I'm ridiculously body shy, and I can't really wear this into the ocean. If I could go into the ocean fully, I guess I could, but um,
Just get yourself a bodysuit,
yeah,
like the
but they're
surfers
yeah,
wear, and then you
but
go swim in
they're
those.
they're really form fitting and cling to my figure, and I don't like it.
Get yourself a cod piece, and then
There you go.
I'm just,
I'll just get a wetsuit and then put really baggy clothing over it. And Matthew, no, Jordan's telling me not to worry about not falling in love and being married because VR porn is now a possibility. Yes, indeed. Although I don't know if I'm not so interested that I'm going to drop 800 whatever on the Vive or the Oculus Rift, or so the price is going to have to come down a bit first. Uh,
yeah.
Matthew, I did see the thread you linked me. Did I not respond? Maybe I didn't, so I apologize. Thanks for sending that my way. That was interesting. And anyone in the chat, it's one of those ISP net neutrality shenanigan things. So check out his link because it's an interesting read. Matthew also doesn't mind the salt, just hates the jellyfish. Yeah, I've actually never been stung by a jellyfish. Jordan says, or Jet Dan, I swear I remember you saying you grew up on the East Coast, but I could be wrong. No, I'm West Coast. If maybe I said East Coast, maybe I misspoke, but yeah, I'm West Coast. Grew up in California. No, I'm sorry, I grew up in Arizona, but it's still West Coast. Let's see. Okay, so last one. Have you ever gone on a blind date?
A blind date? I don't think I have. No. The only dates I've ever been on are ones that I've actually initiated. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Well, technically, it wasn't a date, but I did meet.
I dated a blind person. Does that count?
No, I did meet my wife at a I went and moved in with my friend, and then that Saturday he took me into town and got a bunch of people together to play games, and that's where I met my wife. So not really a blind date, but yeah, it's I didn't know her before I met her. Before I started dating her. So yeah. So no real blind date.
Yeah, blind date. I've also never been on a blind date, and it's something that doesn't appeal to me. In fact, dating doesn't appeal to me. In fact, people don't appeal to me. No, the idea. I'm actually really difficult to date because I'm the kind of person who doesn't want to date until I get to know the other person first to see if there's someone I actually want to date. But it's hard to get to know someone and see if you want to date them without actually dating them in the first place. It's almost kind of a catch-22. So I'm more inclined to date people that I know and have some type of friendly relationship with. It may be self-defeating, but that's how I wouldn't be interested in just, okay, and here she is. I'm like, okay, hi, new person that I don't know. Let's go bowling. You like video games? I make stupid YouTube videos. A lot of them this week.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm with you. Blind dating never appealed to me, and I guess I'm kind of like you as well, where I like to get to know the people. Like I really didn't start dating my wife. You call it dating until like 2 weeks after we met, and we hung out several times between that. But because we hung out with our friends, mutual friends and stuff. So that's we got to know each other, and then we started actually dating. But I was like that in growing up too, where I would go to group functions like our the church that I'm in. They throw monthly activities for the youth, where a lot of times it's dancing and some other activities too. But I would go to these things and I would just hang out with people and and I ended up going on a couple of dates later on in my, when I was older, with a couple of people that I met during those things. But yeah, I'm not one to just say, or I never was one to just say, hey, I think you're cute. You want to go on a date? Yeah, that was never me.
Yeah. It's weird because I've had usually guy friends. It's like, hey, check her out. Isn't she pretty? Yeah. You should go date her. I'm like, I I don't know her, but she's hot. Yes, she is, but I don't know her. I don't know what her personality is at all. Yeah, she could be an asshole. So, okay, so yeah, I think this will be a fun segment to dip into each week. So,
All right.
yeah, bucket list. Got a bunch of those. Actually, there's a really, really long one. So, moving on. This is Zachary and I both wrote a few stories this week. Only Zachary's stories had any substance to them at all.
Yeah.
So talk about what happened with Apple's reaction to this Gaza war game with a name that I honestly don't know how to pronounce.
I'm pronouncing it Lila.
Lila? Okay.
Yeah, that makes that makes the most phonetic sense
so
to
Lila
me.
and the Shadows of War.
All right. Well, I saw this story on Gamma Sutra where they had posted about Apple rejecting this, and so I looked into it and everything. And what had happened is this Palestinian game developer. He is actually from that region. He developed a game to kind of share a audio visual interactive experience of what it's like to go through some of the stuff that's going on in the Gaza Strip. And a lot of the events in the game are based on things that actually happened in this conflict between the Gaza Strip and Israel. And so he made this game, and it's actually not very long. If you have an Android device, you can download it.
About 10 minutes long.
Yeah, I played it and got to the end. You can't really say you beat the game because it's you don't actually win anything, but you get to the end of the game, and it takes about 10 minutes to play, and you get to experience. Let's see, there was the instance where a school was bombed, and that killed some people. Ambulances have been bombed, and there was an instance where a bomb hit a bunch of kids that were playing soccer on the beach, and you basically the game you're a dad, and you're walking to your house. You're trying to get to your house, and you have to actually do a little bit of platforming to get there. And then once you get there, you've got to get your wife and daughter and escape. And as you escape, your wife dies, and then eventually, once you think you're safe, your daughter dies, and so that's the end of the game. And so he released this game on Google Play, and it's there. It's rated mature 17 up. Not sure why it even needs to be that, but that's
Are those self-assigned ratings?
I think they are. Yeah, like maybe you do like a little questionnaire or something, but. Okay.
Because the game has the style of Limbo. All the characters are silhouetted, so it's not gory.
Yeah, there's no gore. It's just despair, basically.
Yeah, it's just the thing.
But then he wanted to release it on iTunes, and Apple rejected the game being in the games category. They said their argument is that because it's based on real events, it doesn't belong in the games category. It should be in the news or what was the
reference.
Reference. And it's just like, news and reference just makes no sense for this.
Well, to be fair, when you beat the game 10 minutes after you start it, it ends kind of with several title cards showing different stats. The attack
Yeah.
lasted this number of days. This many people died. This many schools were blown up. And you learn that all of the stuff that happened in the game you just played, the ambulance that blows up, the kids on the beach playing soccer that blow up, the school that blows up, all that stuff actually did happen. And the credits, which are maybe 2 or 3 minutes long, are little more than a list of facts that happened. So,
Yeah.
in a sense, I mean, if it was just that, I could see it being categorized as reference. But do you think that this app, just for sake of argument, would have fit in? I personally feel that it fits in game because it's short, it's pretty simple, but it's unmistakably a game.
Yeah.
It's a very light puzzle platformer with a couple choose your own adventure type choices scattered
Yeah.
throughout. But do you feel that this app would have been appropriate in either the news or the reference categories?
No, because when I think of news and reference, I think of reading or video. It's like, you're watching a news report, you're reading a news article. That's the kind of stuff that I think of in the reference. I don't think of interactive experiences.
Yeah.
I don't think of going there and moving a character around and experiencing even real life events. That's not what I think of.
Mm-hmm.
I think the games category is the appropriate section. Now, if Apple wants to expand its games category and put subcategories in it,
Yeah.
kind of like Kickstarter, they have the games category, and then they break that up into video games, mobile games, tabletop games, card games. They have multiple categories.
They
But
could have a serious game section or something.
yeah, they could have a serious games or a new or a political games or games based on real events or something like that.
You have to
I
wonder if
think.
something like the political machine would be rejected from the Apple Store.
Yeah, see, that's something else I was thinking. I was actually thinking of the political machine and all of these politically themed games. Would Apple accept these? Perhaps because those are more game-like than they are fact-like. Whereas Lila, like you said, at the end of the game, it gives you a bunch of information about how the events in the game were actual things that happened on the Gaza Strip, and I think that's probably where Apple is getting hung up. They're like, you can't have this. So my question is, do they take movies that are based on real events and put those in the news or reference section?
No.
I doubt it. And
or as far as I know, they don't. As Matthew's pointing out in the comments, Apple treats games different than everything else. As far as I know, Apple doesn't do this with comic books or music or movies or books or anything else. Now, it has had some things where I think it rejected a comic book for having sex in it. But it wasn't like, well, it's got sex, it's not actually a comic book. It was just this content's
this is not age. Yeah, this is not appropriate for us.
Even though one could find other examples of similar content, but still, yeah.
Yeah, and this they've done other things too. Like they rejected the Project Gutenberg app because somebody could download the free Kama Sutra that's available through their thing, and that hung up that got the Project Gutenberg off there. But that's actually that was taken care of a long time ago. I don't know if they just blocked the Kama Sutra or Apple finally said, that we're being stupid. But Apple, 9 years running, they still have not figured out that games aren't just playthings. They aren't just toys. They can be things beyond that. The games category really just needs to be thought of as interactive experiences, not toys. And Apple still thinks of them as toys. And this goes into a lot of their policies, where it's like a couple of years ago they started blocking game releases if they had images of guns in their promotional materials, and even if the primary gameplay was gunplay, you couldn't show guns in your images. And it's like, okay, how are we supposed to advertise what our game is if we can't show what our game is in these images and videos? So yeah, they have a lot of stupid decisions in this. And you would think after 9 years they would have hired some people who actually knew something about games. But it seems like they just, the whole app approval process is staffed by 80-year-old grandmas or something.
Yeah, the impression I get is it's not these are excuses for applications and games and such that Apple's just simply not comfortable having on its store, but it's too cowardly is a strong word, but it's too cowardly to come out and say, this is just not an application we're comfortable having hosting on our store. So no. Yeah. Instead, they go, oh well, it's not actually a game, so it doesn't count. You know, which just seems like BS to me. And Riff Raff says something similar, saying there's a game about tearing down Trump's proposed wall on the iOS store. So you can do political games. You just have to be on Apple's side. So,
well, I don't think it's really I don't think it's really taking sides. I think it's just more of that particular game is more of a game. It's not the difference between that and Lila is that Lila is based on real events, where the experiences you go through are things that actually happen. Whereas tearing down Trump's wall is just a something to make fun of something Trump said. It's not actually, it's not like a game based on tearing down the Berlin Wall. If the game is actually you're tearing down the Berlin Wall, perhaps Apple will reject that because should be news or reference.
That'd be interesting. Track down the whoever made that game and say, hey, upload the exact same game, just erase Trump and write Berlin. See what Apple does, just out of curiosity. But as Jet Dan points out in the chat, Medal of Honor and Call of Duty and games like that are based on actual events and real wars.
Yeah. So. So that would be interesting. But I believe there are Call of Duty games on there, and there are historical war games on there. So Apple seems to be very hit and miss in interpreting games and everything, I think. But again, we're also entering the area. I'm trying to think of the actual term, where we're distance enough from World War II where it's okay to make games about World War II, but we're still not at a long enough time from recent wars like the war in Iraq and Afghanistan to be comfortable making those things, where it's like 6 Days of Fallujah was a game that somebody was trying to make, but they couldn't find a publisher. And
probably wouldn't have had the same problem had they tackled an event that was decades old.
Yeah, like something that happened in the Vietnam War or the Korean War or something that would have been different. And here again with Lila, we're talking about something that's happened within the last 10 years, or 5 years actually. Some of these events are just a couple of years old, and so yeah, it's just that distance isn't great enough for some people to be comfortable with this.
But it sounds harsh and callous to say something, but if you are not comfortable with the game covering the Gaza war or Fallujah or 9/11 or anything particularly recent, maybe give that game a pass and download something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect anyone who's uncomfortable with those topics and don't want to experience that, especially if someone was like in Fallujah or Gaza or something. It's like, man, that's really not something I want to experience. And
Yeah.
I understand and completely respect that, but I don't agree with with anyone who might posit that such games or discussions should not exist.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time, copping to Apple is completely within its right to saying, look, we're not comfortable with this discussion on our store, and that's fine, but just say so. Don't give us this crap about, well, it's not really a game. It should be news. Or we
Yeah.
you know, and Twitch is even worse, you know, with the game, some of the games it seems to completely arbitrarily not allow to be streamed on its system.
Yeah.
And again, it is completely within its rights to chuck darts and say that one, and that one because we don't like them. Fine, but at least say so. It's like, why is Yandere Simulator, Shower with Your Dad Simulator, why are these games not allowed on the service when we can point to a bunch of other games that are objectively more horrific in what they depict, more explicit, more horrific and stuff like that. And Twitch's response is silence. But really all it needs to say is because it's our service and we said so. We don't like it and don't want it on our system. It's like, well, okay then, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Andrew. How come you never invite Jerry to your parties? It's like, because I don't like him.
Yeah.
Did he defecate on the rug the last time? No, I have no really reason other than I don't like him and I don't want him in my house. Deal with it.
Yeah. Now, Riffraff says that you can't make games about the Civil War on Apple Store. That's not true. Now that's not true. You can make Civil War games. They don't allow depictions of the Confederate battle flag that's flown over, that rednecks and racists like to use as their rallying flag. Not that the flag itself is anything to, it has no actual meaning other than it represents the South. But you can make a game about the Civil War, and you can use any of the dozen other flags that were flown over Confederate armies and over Confederate states during that time. Just not the stars and bars. So, yeah.
I wonder if because some people are really dig the Confederate flag, and to be fair, it's actually just aesthetically a cool looking flag.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's the Pluto effect. I suggest that people would not care about Pluto not being a planet if it weren't for Disney's dog, Pluto. If it were called Perfarbalschnitz, no one would really. Is planet Perfarbalschnitz no longer a planet? Whatevs.
I don't know if it has anything to do with Pluto the dog.
I don't think it does have anything to do with Pluto the dog, but there's that connection. It's like Pluto is something cute and awesome. Likewise, I wonder if the Dukes of Hazzard had anything to do with the popular consciousness of the Confederate flag. If that
could be,
if that show were never around, would people generally care slightly less about the Confederate flag?
I don't know, because the Dukes of Hazzard they plastered the Confederate battle flag on their car,
the hood of their car, or the roof,
and
one of the two.
I think it was the roof.
Okay,
and they basically stuck it to the man in every episode. That was the whole concept of the show. Was these guys just did not like authority and did everything to disrupt authority in their little town, and so I think that probably added to the symbolism of the flag, and as a rejection,
anti-authorityism.
Anti-authorityism, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on, Riff Raff asked about Nazi Germany. We make World War II games. I don't think Apple has any policy, as far as I'm aware, about the swastika.
I think
Um,
Germany does, though. So
yeah,
I
Germany does. It's actually illegal in Germany to display the swastika, even in a reference setting.
right. Extra
And
Credits has that problem with some of its history videos that it does,
yeah,
and it decided to use, I think, the Iron Cross in lieu of the swastika, uh, simply just so that its educational videos could be aired in Germany. They
yeah,
made a judgment call saying it's not historically accurate, but we feel it's more important to reach the broadest audience possible with this information. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But okay, let us move on to another topic. We're approaching 7 here. Let's do this one: the Uncharted 4 and the case of the wrong review score. This was another one of your stories, so take it away, Zachary.
All right. Well, this week on Monday, I learned about a petition that somebody had created because the Washington Post published a review, I guess what they're calling a review of Uncharted 4, where the author, Michael Thompson, just basically wrote about why he doesn't like Uncharted, the entire series. And he had, this is one of his quotes. It says that the games have always struck me as garish, more than gorgeous, more interested in overwhelming the senses than communicating with them. So basically, he thinks it's a lot of fanfare with no substance. And he wrote this, didn't attribute any kind of score to it or anything in any way saying whether you should buy it or not or anything like that. He's just like, I don't like this game. Here's some reasons why. Deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Metacritic, for some reason, it totally escapes me why, popular review aggregating site, decided to include that review in their aggregate review scores and attributed it a score of 40 out of 100. And no one really understood why they even gave it that score, because there was no score in it and in the actual review. And so somebody created a petition. It says, remove the Washington Post review from Uncharted 4's Metascore. And this thing is just absolutely terrible. I actually looked, and
Is it
the
another
author,
poorly written petition?
it is terribly poorly written. Now, to be fair, the author of this petition has his location as Athens, Greece. So this could be an instance of English as a second language.
Sure.
But still, it is horribly written. There is, there is no punctuation anywhere except for the occasional comma and period. And for some reason, the commas have a
Space on either
space
side, right?
before on both sides of it, and that drives me nuts. But I can't get past this. That is
Yeah,
just
I know.
the most horrible thing. But the most what I consider the best representative sample of this thing is, he says, your Y-O-U-R, okay, your Washington Post, for Christ's sake, space, comma, space, not a 12-year-old's diary. Treat the game with professionalism and respect. and it's like, I look at this, and he doesn't capitalize Post, okay? So it's like, your Washington Post, for Christ's sakes. It just the way it reads is
It's
just
a post
terrible.
in a literal post in Washington that belongs to somebody.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
it's your Washington and Post, for Christ's sake. So, it's like,
Mhm.
write a post. Come on.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Could be a
and
letter,
sake
right?
is capitalized. Okay, so post is not capitalized. Sake is capitalized.
Sorry,
Um,
my cat was batting at the shift key, so there's some random capitalization.
yeah, but so yeah, this is just terribly written,
Okay.
and there's two underlying issues that this review or this petition raises, and only one of them is actually legit. The first one is he just rips on this review and just complains about it. He says, "I'm okay with the guy expressing his opinion, but as I said, when it's an official review, it must be treated with professionalism and respect, and rules must be applied." This guy doesn't deserve to be taken seriously by big, crucial sites like Metacritic. It harms the flawless reputation of the game for absolutely no reason. A review is not about what you think a game is, it is about what a game is. Objective measures are applied. And that is the dumbest thing I've ever read. I'm
Sounds
sorry.
like he's
Reviews
mad
are.
because sounds like he's mad because someone doesn't like the thing that he likes as much as he likes it.
Exactly, and that's the problem. It's like, somebody doesn't like my favorite thing. You're stupid for not liking it. No,
And,
I'm sorry.
and
That's you're stupid
that's
for.
because if you don't agree with me, then that somehow threatens my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now here is where this gets even weirder. So I read the after a while, I read is it Michael Thompson? Is that the
Yeah,
author?
Michael Thompson. Yeah.
I read his review and I looked at what section it was in, and I forget what section it was in. I thought, this seems more like just a general editorial than an actual review of the game. Doesn't even really
Yeah.
talk about the game much. It seems more like, here's my thoughts on the Uncharted franchise in general. The Washington Post actually did publish a review of the game and gave it a 4 out of 4. So what? And I checked this morning. Metacritic is still linking to Michael Thompson's article, not
Yeah.
the actual rated review in Washington Post, and it still has the wrong score of 4 out of 10 instead of 4 out of 4. The Washington Post actually gave it a solid 100.
Yeah.
So it's either, so Michael Thompson's, if Metacritic really wants it there, it should be moved down to the unscored section, which it actually has a section of here are reviews that do not have a score, and it should import the actual review and give it the actual score that the actual review has, instead of getting the review's score wrong and applying it to the wrong article.
Yeah, exactly.
For crying out loud, Metacritic.
Yeah, and that's the only legitimate complaint in this petition, that they are asking for Washington Post to either replace that review with the actual review with the score, or move that review into the unscored section. And but any complaint about this score driving down the overall Metacritic ranking of Uncharted 4 is completely bunk too, because there is not the only score or the only review, only actual critic review under 90% is that Washington Post review. That they gave a score of 40 out of 100. Everything else is 90 or above for an average Metacritic score of 93. And it's like, 93 score. Last I checked, the last time I read a story about a developer being denied a bonus because of a low Metacritic score was because the game got an 84. I don't think any publisher would willingly say, "Oh, your game got a 93 on Metacritic instead of a 95. No bonus for you." That would be the dumbest thing a publisher could ever say to a developer, and that would get plastered all over the internet real quick. But yeah, so two things here. It's like, pick out one thing you want to address in your petition, and two, get somebody that can write to actually write it.
Seriously,
This
at
is
least hit
just
spell check.
yeah.
Copy that stuff into Word or something. There are several spell checky free online tools. Please use them. I mean, if you, it amazes me that there are how many people there are who are passionate enough about a given topic to actually take the time to write and publish a petition, but they don't quite care enough to hit spell check. They care, but not quite that much. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's move on to one final topic, and it's something that Matthew's pointing out in the chat, something that I had not heard of. So, from what I
All
can
right.
gather of what Matthew's saying is that someone somewhere shot early gameplay footage of the new Doom, and
Woohoo!
the gameplay footage showed that this person really sucks. As in, like, I've never played a first-person shooter before sucks. So apparently somewhere there is a discussion, I'm sure a very calm and moderate discussion with
Of
civility on
course.
both sides about how experienced should a reviewer be? Should a reviewer disclose that they suck at a particular style of game? Um, what do you think?
Huh. Um.
First, I just want to point out that the new Doom is kind of like um, the first real first-person shooter in a long. It doesn't have any of that regenerating health crap or hiding behind chest-high walls crap. This is a get out there and shoot demons or you're gonna die, and it's really fast, and you shoot, and that's it. If you've been just playing a decade full of Call of Duty and Gears of War and BioShock, you are not prepared for games like Doom.
Yeah.
The games that the first-person shooters that we grew up with. So that might be why someone sucks. It's like, man, I just been
Yes.
playing Call of Duty for the last 10 years. This is hard now.
I remember playing first person shooters and actually having to hunt for health packs. It's like, oh crap, somebody
On this
shot
health
me. I
pack.
managed to get away, but I have only 20% health. I need a health pack. And you're
No, I'll
scrambling
just
while
stop playing.
dodging
I'll find a
things.
hidey hole and not play the game for a minute while my health regenerates. I hate that.
Yeah. But as for reviewer skill, I don't think there really should be a requirement that a reviewer be skilled. But I think people are going to trust a review more if the person is skilled in that genre. So you take someone who generally plays JRPGs and have them review a first-person shooter, they're probably not going to do a good job reviewing a first-person shooter. And the same thing the other way. Somebody that primarily plays first-person shooters isn't going to do a very good job reviewing a JRPG. So for trust and legitimacy, when it comes to those issues, you want to read a review from somebody that actually plays that genre on a regular basis. But I don't think that's a requirement, because a lot of people who are just getting their start in reviewing, they tend to review a wide variety of games before they find a particular niche that they like and review well. And so I don't think limiting people at all is a good thing, any way you shake it, because people are going to find their own area of expertise over time. So
Scotty J. Man, I did not use cheat codes for the original Doom. Although that brings up an interesting point. You hear a lot, especially with the Dark Souls these days, you hear a lot of the get good type of stuff. Having trouble with the game? Well, is something killing you? Get good. Back in my day when we were playing really hard Nintendo games, we just got good. No, we used Game Genie. We used codes and Game Genies and Game Shark. We didn't get good. We got codes. But I don't think. I think if you're completely, I don't think you have to be good at a particular style of game to review it. I think you should probably shouldn't bother if you're completely incompetent to the point where you just can't play this type of game, or if it's
like
a game that you
I
just
can't beat level 1, but I'm going to write a review anyways.
yeah. I mean, I've seen people who just don't game not be able to get past the 1-1 in Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
On the other
You
hand,
can't get past 1-1. You're pretty terrible. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Now, on the other hand, maybe there is value in a Doom review from someone who's just not very good at first-person shooters. There are some people who don't play first-person shooters who might hear all the hype around Doom and go, should I check that out? And a review from someone who's not very good at them or doesn't play them very often may provide a perspective that is very valuable for them.
Yeah,
They might learn that actually this game is friendly to people just starting out in the first-person shooter genre, or no, if this is not a good baby's first FPS. If you want to start with if you want to play first-person shooters, maybe try here. So no, to be fair, Matthew bringing it up is the first time I've heard of some issue, and apparently the game footage in question is from Polygon. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I don't know. Yeah, but you do bring up a good point that there is a valid perspective in somebody that doesn't normally playing a franchise, doesn't normally play a genre or a franchise, taking a dip into it and writing their perspective. I think that is a valid area or a valid viewpoint that we as gamers and game reviewers and stuff should take into account. But in a related note, what do you think about completing a game? Do you think a game reviewer should complete the game before they write the review?
If it's Ilya and the Great War or Shadows of War, yes. I mean, if the game's only 10 minutes long, yes, please at least play through the game. No, I don't think so, because much like I don't believe that the ESRB or any ratings body needs to physically play through the entire damn game in order to assign an accurate rating. Because gamers, can you think of a game that you would literally have to play more than an hour of in order to accurately rate it? I mean, maybe all of the content descriptors, like maybe there's smoking way later, like one character who smokes in a bar in level 17. But games are fairly repetitious. I can other than maybe, Bionic Commando, which has a surprisingly gory Hitler head explode at the very end of the game, I can't think of any games that are that tonally discordant in the between the front half and the back half. Despite what Leland Yee may have said, video games do not hide all the M-rated stuff way at the 800-hour mark where no one's ever going to see it. That's not how it works. All the good, they're very homogenous. They're very it's pretty even throughout the whole thing. You can take pretty much usually 10 minutes. I mean, how much of the new Doom would you really have to play before you figured out, yeah, this is an M-rated game? About 30 seconds. The game starts, you're on a table, you're like, a demon is coming to eat my face. And you break your shackles and you grab that demon in the face and you jam your thumb into his eyeball and you smack his head against the table until his head explodes. It's like, okay, yeah, it's an M-rated game. Oh, but you haven't played the entire game yet. I don't need to play the entire game. This is them. I think you play Mario, New Super Mario Brothers U or whatever, and you play through the first level and you're like, yeah, okay, this is E. Unless Mario gets a gun in World 8 and starts capping Goombas or something like that.
But you forget. You have to play the game for 30 hours before you get to the part where Bowser actually rapes Princess Peach on screen. So you forget about that part. But
no, I think for reviewers anyway, I think you need to. It's really a judgment call. You need to play
Yeah,
enough to uh, get a feel for the game and speak intelligently on it. Now,
yeah. It's like
if for some reason you're like, I played uh, I game with 18 levels, and I honestly Ninja Gaiden. I can't get past the first level. It's fun, it's gorgeous, it's challenging. The battle system is fun, but I have no idea what the back 90% of the game looks like because the game kicks my ass and I can't get through it. So if that was you, I think that's probably something you should disclose, but I don't think it really prevents you from
yeah,
writing a review. Now, if you are part of a large organization like IGN, you might want to put someone else on the game who can actually play more of it and be
hmm
more descriptive of what else is
yeah,
in the game because you
yeah.
didn't
Well,
get
it's
to see
like
it.
myself. If you actually look at for game reviews on Random Tower, you'll find a bunch of game reviews that I wrote about Ouya games, and I reviewed all of those games based on whatever the game developer gave me for free, basically the free demo that I got. Every single review is that, and my review ended with whether I actually wanted to buy the rest of the game or I didn't. That's what I closed out. It's like, do I want to buy this game after playing this 30-minute chunk, or do I not? And there's a good mix of games that the demo just didn't have any appeal to me, and I said nope, I'm not going to buy it. And a bunch that I said, yeah, I'm buying this because this game's awesome.
Mhm.
Um, but also, when you talk to friends, you don't expect your friends to have played in a game all the way through before they say, yeah, you should buy this, or no, stay away from that game. It's like, do you really ask your friends, like, did you play every single second of that game? Because if you didn't, I'm not going to listen to you. Nobody says that. So I don't expect a reviewer to play every single minute of a game before they write the review.
Yeah, Matthew points out that the new Doom gets more maze-like deeper in. If you only played an hour or so, you wouldn't see that, and that's true. If you, that's why I think it's okay to say I only played half the game or whatever. Um, Most reviewers do seem to say I didn't 100% the game, but I did play through the story campaign. It's something MG Noxa
Yeah.
points out with you don't need 100% all the collectibles and stuff, but sometimes a brilliant or terrible final level or levels and bosses can really change your opinion of the game, and that's true too. So especially if you talk about things like pacing, level variety, you do need to at least go through the entire game, or at least the majority of it, to render opinions on such topics.
Yeah.
However, there are games like, and this is a reality of if you're doing this for fun or for a business and you have a deadline. Xenoblade Chronicles is like, it takes you 90 hours to get, I'm sorry, yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles takes like 90 hours to get to the end of the damn game. I would be fairly comfortable reviewing it after only 30 hours because at the 30-hour mark, you have seen a really large chunk of the first, what is it, Bionis or something? The first,
Yeah.
you've seen a bunch of different areas. You've seen a bunch of different monsters. You know how the game plays and the story goes. You've met a lot of different characters. Um, but in that case, you might want to say, "Look, I'm only 30 hours into the game. It is fantastic so far. Unless this game takes a humongous dump at the 50-hour mark, it looks like a good one." So no,
Yeah.
I don't think reviewers are required to finish a game, but I do think it's nice for reviewers to contextualize the perspective from which they're reviewing the game, whether it's a I'm reviewing a sports game, I don't like them. Or a racing game, I don't like them. Or I'm reviewing Doom, I only had 6 hours to play it, I've only gotten through level 13. Uh, what I've seen so far is great. I read a review, I went back and read a review of Yakuza 3 just to see what some people were thinking. And the reviewer, and I don't remember who it was, but mentioned that they had kind of powered through the main campaign of the game, which you could get through. I've put 70 hours into Yakuza because I'm playing all the side missions and stuff, but you could get through the story in probably 12 to 15 hours pretty easy. Just just
Yeah.
barrel through. And that's certainly a valid way to play the game. But on the same token, you say part of the magic of the Yakuza titles is all the side missions and all the mini games and just wandering around and playing at the batting cages and playing poker and dragging your young Haruko around and buying her ice cream. That's part of the experience too. And if you're just plowing through the main campaign to rush out a review because admittedly you have a deadline, you are missing some of the flavor of that dish. I mean, it's like if someone serves you a dish at a restaurant, wouldn't it be nice if you actually tried everything on the plate? Is it fair to only review the main course in the middle because all the little stuff around it, garnishments though they may be, are an important part of the whole? So I think really the answer is just disclosure. Just let us know how you're approaching the game and how you played it.
Yeah,
so.
And I think there's also a difference between a small time site like Random Tower and something like IGN, where IGN has several dozen staff members and freelancers that they can rely on to pump out 4, 5, 10 reviews every week. But Random Tower, there's myself, there's you, and every once in a while James. It's like, we can't really expect us to write a review every day. If we did try to write a review every day, we would be playing games only for a couple of hours before we wrote our review, because there's just no way we could play that many games every week and write a review about it. So
Matthew does point out that most games these days are not that long. I think if the main campaign mode is only 15, you can get through it in 12 to 15 hours. Yeah, play the whole game. Because there's
but even then,
I mean, unless for some reason your boss has said you have to review 3, 4 games this week, it's like, well, I may not have time to get through 4 games in a week. That may be possible.
Exactly. But 12 to 15 hours, you're looking at 1 review a week for a lot of people. Like myself, there's no way, if a game is 12 hours, I'm playing that over the course of 4 weeks.
Well, we also have full-time jobs. If playing games and reviewing them was our full-time job, that's a work day and a half.
That's 2 days,
half a day to write the review.
That's doable. But and if I were doing this full time, I would play more games and write more reviews. But
But I'll tell you a job that does require you to play through the entire game: writing guides. You can't just play through a little of it. You can't just plow through the main mission and skip all the side quests. No, you have to play every single thing. You might have to play through it a couple of times.
You just copy everything from GameFAQs.
That's right. I buy the Prima guide and I just copy paste. Here and there, call it my own. Although occasionally guide writers do have to do that by the Prima Game Guide, because a lot of times there will be information in those guides that you really just can't get other than literally asking the developer. And that, for example, exact hit points for RPG enemies, the various status tolerances for enemies. Information like that is not available in the game, and the exact numbers you can only get from the developer, which is what Prima Games and Brady Games and all the other official guide writers do. They actually work in tandem with the developers to get all those charts with these specific numbers in them. So we are allowed to, sometimes as guide writers, we do purchase the Prima Games Guide. In fact, I got the Prima Games Guide for Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate because it has information in there on monster hit points and status tolerances and stuff that drops, drop percentages and, what specific items, what enemies drop, and what the percentage. There's absolutely no way to know that or really calculate it without data mining.
And there's a lot of people out there that actually do data mine, but
Oh
they
yeah,
do that over the
absolutely.
course of months after the game is released. And yeah, a guide writer is just not going to have that amount of time. These are people that just they're doing this because uh, they like cracking games open and seeing how they tick.
Mhm.
I'm not one of those people. I like writing the games and making them tick. I don't like figuring out how
Yeah.
other people's games tick.
That's true. Matthew also points out that the mechs in Xenoblade Chronicles X don't appear till about the 30-hour mark, and if you only played 15, 20 hours of the game and you wrote a review saying, "Oh, the box cover lies. There's no mechs in this game. I mean, they're walking around, but you can't drive one, and that sucks." 3 out of 10. Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty conditional. It depends. I think just be smart about it and communicate with your audience what you feel they need to know and what you um, presuppose they would want to know, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And if your audience calls you out on something, just own up to it. If they say, "Well, but you do get the mech at the 30-hour mark," and if you just completely botched that and didn't notice, it'd be like, "Oh, mea culpa." Uh, it's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
some people may never forgive you, but I've I've made mistakes at Game Politics writing stuff for Game Politics, and I just write a correction. No big deal. Of course, I'm not really well known on the internet, so there's not that many people to dogpile me, I guess. But
Yeah.
all right, so that is our show for the week. Thank you all very much for watching, and JetDan 21 was mentioning that this is like the third day in a row that I've had some sort of live stream. And that's because every time Sony releases a new trailer for Ghostbusters, I feel the need to do a live reaction to it. And Sony released 2 trailers this week. It released a new trailer like on Wednesday or something. And I said, "Oh, okay, cool." And so I did a live reaction, and then I just got to chatting with my viewers for like an hour, and the video ended up being an hour long, even though the first part of it is really only the reaction and analysis. The rest of it is just me gamming about different things.
Yeah.
And then they released an international trailer the following day or the day after. And I was like, again? Well, okay, let's do another reaction video. And the same thing happened. I reacted to it. I gave my thoughts, and they ended up chatting with my viewers for an hour. And that one's like an hour and 12 minutes. So I have a bunch of Ghostbusters stuff on my channel now, probably 5 or 6 videos. I put them all in a playlist for convenience sake. Don't be scared off that some of them are an hour long. If you're just looking for the live reaction, it's right up at the front.
Yeah,
So
about 20 minutes or so, and then he starts talking with his.
And then I start talking about public displays of affection and how I would write Sausage Party, a movie that I haven't seen yet. So Jordan also asked, "Am I going to do a live stream tomorrow?" I'm not planning on it, but if Sony releases another trailer, I might. I seriously doubt that's going to happen, though.
Yeah, and Ghostbusters actually launches 2 days before my brothers. My little brothers are twins, and they loved Ghostbusters growing up, and so it comes out 2 days before their birthday. So I'm considering taking them to see it for their birthday present. But, they used to watch it, rewind it, watch it, rewind it, watch it. This is back when VHS was the only way to watch.
Remember, you had
video.
to rewind. Cassette tapes, both music and video. You actually had to rewind the film.
Well, cassettes were a lot easier because you could just flip it over and listen to the music, then flip it back over. And side one was rewound already. So
that would have been neat if you could record on the other side of a VHS tape. So you just flip the tape over, and there's a movie on the other side. Maybe special features and documentary crap would have been on the other side, or
that would have been cool.
A version of the film with audio commentary or something.
That would have been neat. Yeah.
So Jordan asks, do more live streams. It's always a good time. I'll keep that in mind. The problem with doing live streams is that so far they've all been completely impromptu, and I've had a bunch of people contact me and say, "Man, I missed it, or I was really late. How do I know when you're going to do them?" It's like, other than being psychic,
Follow
I'm
me
not
on
sure
Twitter.
you can do that, but at Andrew Eisen, you can do that, but Twitter, if you follow a bunch of people, it's really easy to miss one tweet.
Yeah.
By a person, because I do mention that, oh, I'm going to do a live stream tonight, but that's really easy to miss. So I'll think about maybe doing, see if I can just do like an evening with Andrew live stream, just to chat just about what's going on, because some people really seem to enjoy me yammering about odd things for whatever reason. And MG Noxus says you stayed awake for our podcast, and it was worth it. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
okay, plugging stuff and getting out of here. Andrew Eisen, Eisen is how you spell my last name. I know it doesn't make any phonetic sense in American English, but it's German, so what do you want? Plug that into YouTube, and you'll find a bunch of rambly videos about Ghostbusters, but also I'm doing a series right now called A Month of Masturbation, because May is National Masturbation Month, and I'm celebrating it by watching every movie in my collection that has explicit sex in it, which happens to be 5 movies. There are 5 weeks, not full weeks, but 5 Sundays in the month, let's say. So I managed to have the right number of films. And here's kind of, I mentioned this in one of my live streams, but it's kind of weird that watching these back to back, I noticed a few commonalities. 3 of the 5 movies are animated. These are all movies I own, and they have explicit sex in them. So 3 of them are animated. 4 of them are in a foreign language, foreign to me. They're not English. And all 5 feature non-consensual sex scenes. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think there are any consensual sex scenes in any of the movies. And I'm starting to really question my taste. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be put on a list somewhere. But so the next movie, which I'll be watching after we shut off the podcast, is Thriller, A Cruel Picture, which is a Swedish rape revenge film from the 70s. It's also probably more commonly known under the name They Call Her One Eye. And it's your typical rape revenge movie. Woman gets kidnapped, drugged, sold into prostitution. She gets free, and she teaches herself how to fight and use firearms. And she goes back and hunts down the people who sold her into prostitution and blows them away. It's a 90-minute movie with 10 minutes of awesome and 80 minutes of complete boredom. It is what I remember, but that's pretty par for the course for exploitation, 70s era exploitation films. There's usually like 10 minutes that are really awesome, and the rest of the movie is boring as hell. So, not totally looking forward to sitting through that again, but whatever. So there's that stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen. And my Facebook page is Andrew Eisen YouTube. So like me on Facebook or something. Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, and you can follow my game development work at DK_gaming and DivineKnightGaming.com. And I sadly haven't done much on that in the last few weeks. I'm really needing to get back into the gear because I'm feeling a little rusty. But hopefully I'll have some game stuff up this next week or so, and you'll hopefully like it. And if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, you can follow OK Game Devs on Twitter, and it's okgamedev.com. So there you go.
All right. Kingslayer23 says, I'm not alone. We both have problems. So, okay, glad to hear it. So, thanks everyone for following us up Molehill Mountain, and we'll take another trip up to the summit next week. So, take care, all. Bye.
All right, bye.